I've been reading the news today, and there's a lot of Zionist news, so we better get started. The first story deals with Zionist war provocation. Syria fires at Israeli war jets that invaded its territory from Turkey and bombed isolated areas most likely to test Syria's air defenses. Well, it's a very serious thing for a country to overfly someone else's property, to go past the border and into the areas of a country that are supposed to be inviolate, sovereign, where you're supposed to stay out. That's that phrase of Robert Frost that good fences make good neighbors and solid borders make good peaceful nations. But evidently, Israel hasn't figured that out yet. The harm done to Israel by its violation of Syrian sovereignty. Well, there's a lot of harm that was done to Israel. The first thing that was done is that people look at Israel again as a kind of aggressor, as a pariah, as a roll of the dice, as a stepchild, perhaps an adolescent, who's kind of freaky and out of control. And that's what Israel's always looked like, because Israel acts differently than other countries. It's aggressive and it's very, very bizarre. Israel bombs Syria in warlike act of provocation. Well, there was another story concerning the provocation of the act, and it went on and on about the ways in which Israel has provoked other nations throughout history in order to try to start wars. And that's a very bad thing to do. The unacceptable cost of Christian Zionism. Well, there's this wonderful article today about Christian Zionism and how it started the Iraq War, where the Zionists in the White House, both neocons and Christians, got together and planned this war so that we could possibly get a third world war started, which would produce Armageddon and some kind of apocalypse, where in the hours of burning madness, Israel would be destroyed and Jesus Christ would return, etc., etc., etc. And this religious fervor and this irresponsibility of pulling countries into the maelstrom of Christian Zionist thought is extremely dangerous, according to this article. Fascism grows. Veterans for Peace arrested during freedom of speech demonstration. If you'll go to JewWatch and look at the news for September the 9th, 2007, you will see there a YouTube of veterans against the war who were attacked even by horseback by a policeman. It's a very interesting video. I think you should go look at it because it shows how far down the line we've gone into the scum of fascism. Norman Finkelstein witch hunt, student protest, Zionist pressure forced DePaul University to fire a tenured Jewish professor. Norman Finkelstein is a scholar, very well noted, and Norman Finkelstein wrote this book called The Holocaust Industry, in which he pointed out the billions and billions of dollars that have been spent on that industry and how profitable it is to talk about the Holocaust. Live speech by Jewish professor and Holocaust author Norman Finkelstein over being rejected for tenure. Well, this is another video where it shows Norman Finkelstein speaking to students on the campus of DePaul University shortly after it was decided that he would not qualify for tenure, even though he was probably the most qualified person and everyone in his department voted for his qualification. Mr. Finkelstein is Jewish, but the Jews in this country do not like Mr. Finkelstein because he has pointed out how all of these museums being placed in each city are basically fundraising places and places in which to promote the propaganda that Jews are better than anybody else, which he rejects. Psychiatric George W. Bush tells only coalition leader left standing, "We're kicking ass in Iraq." Well, I think that about says it. George Bush is psychiatric. Mr. Howard in Australia is psychiatric. And both of them think that we're kicking ass. Well, obviously, if they think that, they must be psychiatric. Hate-filled U.S. Senate supports killer torturer Israel and its IPAC moneybag lobbyists over UN Human Rights Council. Well, it's very bizarre, but the Congress is supporting Israel, the killer torturer state, over there in the Middle East. You know, the country that has IPAC paying the congressmen through their back pocket for their campaigns. Well, they're supporting Israel because they get money from IPAC. They're supporting Israel over the Human Rights Council on the UN. And there's been tons of propaganda about the Human Rights Council because guess what? There happen to be Arabs on that council. And guess what? The media calls them terrorists. Well, the real terrorist is Israel and the United States. The Zionist PNAC proposal, draft Americans directly into the Israeli army. Well, this was an article in a blog that appeared today. I wasn't able to verify this at the PNAC website, but I thought that I would mention it anyway. It has a picture of Billy Crystal, who is saying that Americans should be directly drafted into the Israeli army so that they'll have enough men for the next war, which I thought was absolutely bizarre. Well, stay tuned. That story is probably developing. The U.S.-Israel empire's war on Iran? Well, according to this article, it's already started. The article mentions all of the political aspects of lining people up in America for the war, of getting the media to have Americans think about, hey, maybe it's time for a war with Iran. And on and on and on. All the propaganda has been placed there. The fleets are there. Everything's ready for the United States to start bombing. Pretty sick, isn't it? Video New Hampshire primary debate. Ron Paul discusses Zionist neocon foreign policies imposed on the USA by the IPAC conspiracy to control American foreign policies. And this is a video that is on my website, JewWatch, again on September the 9th, 2007. And if you can go there and take a peek at it, you will see a great 10-minute video in which Ron Paul is applauded again and again and again, and the hostile Zionist media goons who are in charge of the debate try to put him down, but he doesn't allow them to, and he steals the show. Innocent teenager, 16, living close to Israeli border, killed by IDF thugs while strolling outdoors with 3 friends. Isn't that sickening? A 16-year-old boy who was unfortunate enough to live close to the border, has probably been shot at 1,000 times, was finally killed by these sniper thugs from Israel who were across the border. And they said, well, these 4 people were obviously militia people. Well, actually, they were kids playing outside, and they shot at them, and they killed this 16-year-old. Another tragedy of the Zionist terrorist goons of Israel. I want to thank you for joining me today, and I want to ask you to return tomorrow when I'll have more Zionist news.